Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the 400th episode of Live with CDP Sports Talk since March 2020, which is hard to believe. I hope everyone's doing well on this Friday, May 24th, 2024. Live with CDP Sports Talk is sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210. Tell them Chris Palme sent you, or email the dealership at info@barrycullen.com. Live with CDP Sports Talk is on weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, the home of Southern Talk and Sports. I hope everyone's doing well on this Friday, May 24th, 2024. For my American family and friends who are watching this or listening to this episode today, I want to wish you all a happy U.S. Memorial Day long weekend, which I believe is on Monday, May 27th. And for us in Canada, our Victoria Day holiday was this past Monday, May 20th as well. I'm looking forward to my guest today. This is his first appearance on our show on episode 400, first time. I met him at Salem Field in April for a Bison's Rochester Red Wing game, and his name is Brian Crawford. He is a Toronto Blue Jays prospect writer for jaysprospects.com, and I'm excited to have Brian on my show today. And just 1 second, and I'm going to bring on Brian Crawford. Good afternoon, Brian. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for coming on here, and happy U.S. Memorial Day long weekend to you guys in the States.
Great. Thank you.
So how are things going with jaysprospect.com?
The site has been doing really well. We're trying to always, get constant material for it through like one-on-one interviews, phone interviews, whatever we can set up with the players and get quality content, for the site.
What do you prefer, Brian? Live in-person interviews, or do you like the phone interviews?
I like doing them live in person. It's fun to meet the players and get to hear their stories and just kind of have like that moment of you actually feel like you connected with the person a little bit more than just talking to them on the phone.
So what are you currently working on for jaysprospect.com?
Well, right now I have a piece on Ricky Tiedemann, number one prospect in the organization that I'm currently working on. I'm hoping to get some interviews with New Hampshire here next month. I'm gonna catch a couple games with them here the weekend of the 7th of June, and just anything else I can get set up.
What have been some of your favorite minor league ballparks you've been to so far?
Well, Salem Field was really nice. That one, like with the upgrades that they made for the MLB team in 2020, 2021, the facilities I thought were awesome. Like the little bit that I could actually see, like the weight room, like just like the training facilities, like all the players I talked to in Buffalo said it wasn't just an awesome setup, and that they really liked all the facilities that the Blue Jays give them in Buffalo.
And I guess we're going to get to some questions, Brian. And can you tell my audience here? I'm based out of Guelph, Ontario, which is near Toronto. But can you tell my audience a little bit about yourself?
Well, I was diagnosed with Stargardt's disease, which is a juvenile form of macular degeneration, in 2008. At the time, I was legally blind in my left eye, but they could correct my right eye. So my doctor wanted me to continue working as long as possible. He was trying to, prolong my vision for about 10 years. 2 years later, my right eye was just as bad as my left eye. So he didn't want me to like perform my everyday job. So at a young age, I was kind of like put in a position of basically like, what do I do? Like my friends and family are all working, and like what do I do? Just to pass the time. And at the time, my ex was going to law school in Lansing, and that's when I actually got started writing for Jays Prospects. At the time when Lansing was a Blue Jays affiliate, they got me in contact with the team at the Lansing Lugnuts, and they got me into like the media. They got me a media pass and got me access to the locker room, and I could interview players and write a bunch of stuff that I could put on the site. And I've been doing it now for 12 years, and it's been a lot of fun. I always trying to, each season, I'm always trying to challenge myself to write a little bit better. Like I'm always trying to, like what like I looked at stuff from the previous year, like what could I improve on? What could I, would I do this differently? Like I'm always trying to, just put the best possible product out there that I can do.
For those that are watching live stream today, Brian, or listening on audio platforms, including myself, I've started doing digital writing the last couple of years for the Buffalo Bisons, the Buffalo Bandits, Toronto Argonauts. Brian, what advice would you give to somebody who's trying to get better at digital writing and continue to improve?
I think the biggest thing is, just stick with it. Like no writer's ever gonna say like the first couple of things they produced were the best pieces they've ever done. You really just have to stick with it. Continue to grow. If you get feedback from people, like if it's positive, like listen to what they have to say, and if it's negative, don't get upset. Like listen to what they have to say and find a way to improve on it. And the biggest thing for me when I started, like if I interviewed a player, like if I asked them like 10 questions, I would try to make sure I got like every quote in the article. But as time went on, I started to realize, you don't have to try to force everything into the article. You just want it to have a good flow, good transition. So a big thing was, realizing that you don't have to necessarily force everything in the piece, but to actually come up with a article that you're talking about. You're starting an article with what the player told you, and you're finding good supporting quotes that will transition well into each part of it. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've really worked on the last few years is just not forcing myself to necessarily produce an article that's like got like 1,500 words, but it's going all over the place. It's if it's like 700 words, but it has really good transition, that's better. And I feel like over time, like I was really focused on just trying to find a system and a flow that works for me. And I feel like I've got a lot better at that. Really listening to what the player's telling you, listening for any quotes that they might give you. It's like, okay, that one's, a good way for me to open up my piece. And, and maybe have them elaborate a little bit more on it, or like ask them other questions that you feel like you could easily transition into. And I think that's the biggest thing with a young writers, don't beat yourself up, just continue to work on it. And, the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it.
More reps. Brian, I got to ask you this too. Growing up, did you have any mentors or influences that you enjoyed their work as writers?
Um, like obviously, growing up in Michigan, you read a lot of like the local, like the writers in Detroit. Like, trying to think like which ones I really looked up to. It's I think a lot of it was I really started this when I actually, because I never saw myself necessarily doing this. I think the biggest thing was just, when I started it and I wanted to get better at it, like I started just looking at, like I would read other people's articles and, be like, okay, like how do they transition? Is you take a lot, like I read a lot of other people's stuff, and And I like, and I try to break it down, like, how they transition this and how did they, I like how they did this. And, you look for positives and you look for anything that you can do in your own writing, but also you want to remain true to yourself and, have your own unique style. And you don't want to be like a carbon copy of anybody else.
That's what I'm doing with this. Be yourself. You can get advice from people, take feedback, but always be yourself. Wanted to ask you this, Brian. You mentioned this. I have family in Michigan, in Taylor, Michigan, Allen Park, Michigan. What part of Michigan are you from? And are you originally from Michigan?
Yeah, I was born in Flint, Michigan, and I grew up in Flushing, Michigan, and Davison, Michigan, which are just outside of Flint.
Awesome. And I was in Michigan about 5 weeks ago for the NFL draft, and that was insane. It was 275,000 people downtown Detroit. I got to be honest with you. Downtown Detroit has really reinvented itself, and I felt safe down there. And it was just quite the experience in downtown Detroit and what they've done with the city.
Yeah, the pictures from the NFL draft were like unreal. Like just all the people in the streets. And I haven't been downtown Detroit recently, but I've heard a lot of good things are going on down there.
Now, obviously, you cover the Blue Jays, so you're a Blue Jay fan. But do you have a soft spot for the Tigers too? Who are
Yeah.
they're playing the Jays this weekend, ironically.
Yes. Growing up, we went to a few games at Tiger Stadium and remember players like Lou Whitaker and Alan Trammell, Cecil Fielder. Those are some fun teams to watch.
What did you miss? What do you miss most about Old Tiger Stadium?
I think it's just the atmosphere. Like the old stadiums are just like they're so iconic. Like if you go to like Fenway or Wrigley, like there's just like no comparison to the newer stadiums. Like they're old, they're iconic, they have a lot of history, and it's kind of sad when some of the older stadiums get demolished.
Absolutely. How many major league ballparks have you been to so far, Brian? Or current
Well,
ones?
let's see. I've been to Comerica, I've been to Wrigley Field, and obviously Tiger Stadium, but that one's not current. I think those are the only three I've currently been to.
Are you got any plans to come up to Toronto and see the new renovated Rogers Center?
Yes, I want to get up there. Every time for years I've wanted to go to a Blue Jays game, and now that it's renovated, it's like I really want to go up there and see it.
And since we're talking about the Jays right now, we'll get to the minor leagues in a second. What are your thoughts on this Blue Jays team right now? And do you feel this team is capable of turning it around and being at least a wild card team this year?
Yeah, I definitely feel like they've kind of stumbled a little bit offensively out of the gate. You don't expect to see like Bo Bichette with an OPS under 600. You don't expect to see Vladimir Guerrero struggling to hit dingers and stuff like that. So I think there's definitely a chance that these guys are going to heat it up and turn into the hitters that we know they can be. I think the big thing is just the offense needs to start clicking. I feel like the pitching's been pretty good. Like Kevin Gausman's been what he's been the last few years, and I feel like Kikuchi's really having a good year. So I think it's a big thing that you really got to get the bats going and get that offense clicking.
Thoughts on Alex Manoah, who's been pitching well the last couple starts, and thoughts on seeing him down in Buffalo when we were down there in April?
Well, it's good to see him getting back on track. After the season he had last year, I think people coming into 2024 was kind of wondering, is this what Alex Manoah is, or was last season just a one-off? And then he had a slow start to the season. And even when we saw him down in Buffalo, like he had a couple good innings, but he had a couple innings where he got hit around a little bit. And it was kind of like, okay, what do we, what is there to expect from this guy? This guy, when he first got to the majors, was this almost unhittable. And then he had an all-star year, and then he has a year last year where he was having trouble locating his pitches. He was getting hit around a little bit. And then it seemed like at the beginning of this year, it was more of the same. And then in the last two starts, though, it seems like he's starting to, piece it together and click. And I don't know if it's. I know a lot of people think it's a mental thing with him. Maybe it is. Maybe he's just getting back to the, he's just getting back to where he needs to be mentally, or he's locating like his fastball and his slider. He's locating his pitches better. Whatever it is, it seems like he's really starting to turn it around.
Brian, one thing about baseball, it is a humbling game. You can have so much success one year, and the next year you can fall down. And even the great Dave Steve, who pitched for the Blue Jays in the '80s, he had one or two off years as well, but they never gave up on him. And obviously, with social media, the fans they want to jump on guys and get rid of them. But he has too much talent, and I think if he can get back to winning like even 13, 14 games, the Jays should be a wild card contender. But speaking of the Blue Jays, what are your thoughts on the older minor league teams right now? We got the Buffalo Bisons, who are 26 and 22. New Hampshire is 19 and 23. Dunedin is 20 and 22. The Florida Coast League Blue Jays are 4 and 10. And the only remaining, I believe this, if you correct me, Brad, the only remaining minor league baseball team in Canada, the Vancouver Canadians, are 16 and 22.
Yeah, it's definitely. When you look at the talent in the system, those records are, they're kind of surprising, especially with Buffalo. There's, so much talent on that roster. You don't expect them, to be just barely over 500. I mean, you got guys on that team that, have major league service time, or they're about to this season. And even as you look down, like in like New Hampshire, you have some of the top prospects on that team, and like pitcher Adam Macko, outfielder Alan Roden, shortstop Josh Kasevich. Like you just really expect them to, really be able to start piecing it together and winning some more games. I feel like the organization as a whole has, a decent amount of talent. It's not obviously the top minor league. It's not the top prospect pool in the majors, but there's definitely a lot more talent than people realize.
Wanted to ask you this, Brian. Obviously, in minor league baseball, they want to develop these guys for the major leagues and get them ready for the major league teams. But how difficult is it you want to win, but you also want to develop? Can you just explain that to my audience about minor league baseball a little bit?
Yeah, it's I think obviously, for people that live in minor league cities and go to games, obviously they want to see the team win. They want to, see them, have a chance to win the championship in whichever league they're in. But like the mindset, and the players definitely want to win too. But their mindset is also that they're focusing on their development. If they have a chance to move up a level during the season, they definitely want to do it. So it's definitely a fine line between like trying to win now, get a championship, but also, wanting to work for that next promotion, putting up the numbers at the plate, or, locating your pitches on the mound. Like there's so much to it. And, you obviously want to see as many of these guys get to the major leagues as possible, because obviously that's what they've been working for their entire life. And, so it's definitely it's definitely a humbling game. It's not easy. A lot of they say that hitting a baseball is the toughest thing to do in sports. That's probably true. It's you just definitely want to wish them the best, and try to wish them the best with all their development and whatever they need to do to get to that next level.
For those people who are watching this live stream or on audio or WQEE 99.1 FM in Georgia, a cheap plug there, why would you recommend going to a minor league baseball game?
I think it's just it's a great atmosphere. I mean, that it's a good opportunity to take your family or friends out, and it doesn't cost a lot of money. The tickets are a lot cheaper. The talent levels there. I mean, these guys are professionals. Like the food, the snacks, everything's probably a little bit cheaper than going to a major league game. So I would say it's just a good experience for people to go out and do something with their family and friends that, at a fair price.
Overall, Brian, we'll start with the Buffalo Bisons. What do you like? What prospects do you like down there, and who do you see possibly coming up in September for the Blue Jays, or possibly next year from the Buffalo Bisons? And they did bring up a player from New Hampshire. Double A, and I think his first name's Riley, but I can't remember his last name. If you can tell us about their latest move the Bison's made.
Yeah, they added infielder Riley Tuata, who I've talked to him a couple of times on the phone. He's been in the system now since 21, and he's battled a few injuries, but he's working his way up, and he's got, when he's clicking, he has a really good bat. It's in Buffalo. I mean, there's a lot of prospects to be excited about. I mean, obviously Ricky Tiedeman's excited, and everyone knows about him. Currently on the IL, but he should be coming back pretty soon. I mean, Elvis Martinez is one that people are definitely excited about. Leo Jimenez, they got a brief taste of seeing Addison Boju. I think he'll be coming back before the end of the year. But yeah, there's definitely them. And then as you go a little further down the list, you obviously got Chad Dallas, a pitcher. He's 20, I think he's going to be 24 this year, so he's still relatively young for the level. Connor Cook, who's a reliever, he's 24, I think, as well, and he's pretty close to the majors. And then obviously Spencer Horwitz, he came up last year into the majors for a little bit. Fans are familiar with him. He's absolutely tearing the cover off the ball in Buffalo. I don't know how much longer they're going to be able to keep him down there before they have to find a spot for him in the big league team, especially if they continue to struggle offensively. So yeah, there's a lot of exciting players in Buffalo that I would say are knocking on the door of a major league call-up.
Thoughts on Cam Eden? I've interviewed him a few times, and besides being a talented player, he's a really good guy. And I just wanted your thoughts about Cam Eden long term with the Toronto Blue Jays, in your opinion.
There's an opportunity there. I mean, obviously, their outfield depth is not the biggest. So, I mean, if an opportunity opened up, he could definitely fill the void. He has a lot of speed, he's a great defender, good on the base path. I think the biggest thing with Cam is he just needs to be a little more consistent at the plate. But other than that, he has the tools to be a major league player. I mean, he got a brief taste of it at the end of last year. Got his first major league hit, which is really cool. Yeah, I've talked to him a couple of times. He's a great kid.
Now, Davis Schneider, I had a chance to interview him last year, and I didn't, and I made a mistake. Thoughts on Davis Schneider in his time in Buffalo, and did you see him with the Bisons being that good with the Blue Jays right away?
Yeah, he's definitely a feel-good story. You're talking about a guy who was drafted in the 28th round out of high school, so he was not high on anyone's radar. He struggled in the lower levels in the minors, and then about towards the end of 22, all of a sudden he just started hitting and worked his way up from Vancouver, New Hampshire, Buffalo. And then last year, he starts back there. He struggles a little bit in the colder weather, but then as soon as the weather, started to turn and warm up, all of a sudden he was hitting again. And they called him up to the majors, which, is obviously just a really cool story, but when you look at his backstory, this is a kid that was grinding like crazy to get there. He even considered retiring in the lower levels in the minors because he just didn't think he was going to get there at one point. And then he gets up there and has an incredibly hot start last year. And, and then people in the off season were kind of questioning, is this kid for real? Or, did he just have a really good start? And now you come in the 2024 and he's starting to pick up again. I would say he's one of the most consistent hitters in their lineup. And it's definitely, I don't know if I necessarily would 2 years ago would have said oh yes, I see this coming, but it's definitely a cool story, and I think he's going to keep it going. I think we've seen enough of him to show that he can hit at the major league level and he can stick there.
For my audience that's watching and listening, Brian, obviously you've done a lot of stories and interviews with players. Have you ever been able to talk to some scouts, and your thoughts on how important scouting is to a Major League Baseball franchise?
When I was in Lansing, scouts would sometimes come into the press box. I I've never done like a full interview with a scout, but they occasionally would, we would kind of like bounce a couple ideas off each other. Like even occasionally, like one or two of them would ask me a question about a player because they knew I was there a lot. So they would ask me like, "What do you think of this player?" Um, just like I've never really talked to one as much. It'd be kind of cool to sit down with one and kind of, deep dive with them, kind of get an idea like what scouts look at. Like what are some tools that maybe the average fan might overlook, and they could give you an idea like this is something to really watch for. Um, so yeah, I've talked to scouts briefly, but I wouldn't say anything like too in depth of like how they process and like analyze players.
Brian, since you were down in Buffalo recently too, were you able to chat with manager Casey Candell and thoughts on the job of Candell and the coaching staff with this team?
Yeah, I was there when you guys were doing the media scrum with him. I was really listening to his answers. He seems like a good manager. He's really focused on the team, the development. He seemed like he had a good sense of humor during the media scrum. Um, so yeah, I think he's definitely in a good place. I think he's an up and coming manager. What did he get his 200th win this year?
Yes, he did
Yeah,
recently. Yeah, about
yeah.
a month ago.
Yeah, you like shortly before we were down there, he hit that milestone, and so yeah, I think he's a good manager. I think the players like playing for him. Um, so yeah, I think it's a good fit there.
And overall, what are your thoughts of? Have you been down to New Hampshire yet, or Dunedin, or obviously you haven't probably been to Vancouver yet? But just thoughts on the other minor league teams for the Blue Jays.
This year will be the first time that I'm actually catching up with New Hampshire when they're in Erie, so I'll see them when they're playing the Detroit Tigers AA affiliate.
Nice
Yeah.
ballpark there, by the way.
Yeah, so that'd be cool. Like I get to see Detroit's prospects, I get to see Toronto's prospects. It was just easier for me travel wise. So I'm gonna, I'll meet some of like the media people for New Hampshire. Then I've never actually been to their ballpark. And Dunedin's one I want to get to. I keep telling myself one of these years I'll get down to spring training just have to have the time to do it. I hear the player complex in Dunedin's awesome. The players just rave about it. So they're definitely on my list. I haven't been there yet. This year was my first year I was able to get to Buffalo, and I really enjoyed it.
What was your experience like in your time there and dealing with Pat Malacaro as well?
Yeah, Pat was awesome. He was really helpful. Setting up like my media credentials, and the final day I was there, he was really helpful, helping me get some one-on-one interviews with the players. He does a really good job, and he continues to help me even now. Like if there's a player I want to set up a phone interview, he's very good about helping me set it up. Yeah, he's a great guy. He's really good at what he does.
Absolutely. I've known Pat for 5 years now, and the Buffalo Bisons organization were one of the first professional sports team to give me media opportunity. And what I like about it down there, they don't care about my age or my background. They just treat me like a part of the team, and it's just a great feeling when Pat lets me go on the field and talk to the manager Casey Candell or players before and after the game, and it's really a great atmosphere down there.
Yeah, they really treat you well. They don't treat you like, oh, you don't work for like a major newspaper. Like they treat you like they treat you like a member of the team.
100%, Brian, and that's what I love doing. And I have a full media pass there. If I lived a little bit closer to Buffalo, I would be at the ballpark every single night because I just love being at the ballpark. And it's just like you, Brian. I can see how much passionate you are with doing your writing stories and phone interviews as well. Do you ever do any live in person interviews like with the smartphone and that?
Yeah, I haven't done too many of them. I definitely should probably start doing some of that. I'm always looking for different ways to, set up interviews and get content out. And like I kind of had that takeaway when I left Buffalo. Like if I lived closer, I'd be here like all the time. I would, I would be like, you know what, every home game I'll be here. You know, it was an awesome experience.
Absolutely. Hey, Brian, I'm going to give you a few more questions. Can you just tell my audience about your experience writing for the Lansing Lugnuts and the Great Lakes Loons? And what is Lansing Lugnuts? Are they still there with another team, or did they move out of Lansing?
Yeah, they're still there. They're the high A affiliate now of the Oakland Athletics.
Okay.
They switched when the minor leagues had like their retooling after COVID. They switched affiliations. It was a good experience. Like the media team treated me well. I mean, they were the first team that really gave me an opportunity to do this, so I'll be forever grateful for that. You know, when they presented, like when the site offered me this opportunity, it's like, you know, like I don't even know, you know, how to even get my foot in the door doing something like this. And Lansing was more than willing to, you know, let me have a pass and have access to the players and, you know, continue to encourage me to, you know, keep writing and get better at it. And then a few years later, I had a couple years where I covered Great Lakes Loons, the high A affiliate now of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Um, I moved over to them after, like, for a while they were just a little bit closer to me than Lansing. So I covered a couple years there, and it was a lot of fun. They treated me very well, and got to see some really cool players come up in their system, like um, James Outman, Michael Bush, you know, all them, Josiah Gray. Like I've interviewed all those players, and I was only there probably for about 2 full seasons, but it was a really cool experience to kind of just, you know, get an opportunity to cover another team, another organization. But even though it was slightly different, it was the same job. Like, you know, the players have the same passion. They treated me very well. Um, so yeah, it was a really both of them were really good experiences.
Gonna ask you this, Brian. Long term, do you see minor league baseball being around another 5, 10 years from now? I know there were some major changes, but to me, I think it's huge to keep it strong for the Major League Baseballs. I just wanted your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think it'll be around. I mean, I think it's such a key part of the player's development. You know, baseball is not like a lot of the other sports where like a first round pick in the NFL is playing on Sunday in the fall. You know, these players, even the top picks, like some of them are in the minors for a couple of years before they make the majors. So it's such a key part of like the development, and I see it. I don't, you know, if for some reason it wasn't around, like I don't really know how they would develop these players and, you know, prepare them to handle what it's like to be a major leaguer.
Absolutely. Hey, Brian, who are some of the Toronto Blue Jays top prospects in 2024, in your opinion, and who the Blue Jay fans or Major League Baseball fans who are watching should look out for? Just a couple names here.
Uh, you know, like I said, obviously Tiedemann, Martinez. They know Bojo. He's been up there briefly. Leo Jimenez is really coming on. Alan Rodin in New Hampshire's, you know, he's got a really good bat, probably one of the top outfield prospects. Um, just as you go a little further down, like Josh Kathovich is having a big year. He's a shortstop in New Hampshire. Um, and if you go into like even like a little further in New Hampshire, like Alex DeJesus, who came over in the Mitch White trade, he's starting to heat it up. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of really good prospects coming up. A lot of, you know, probably need a little bit more in the outfield department. A lot of really good infield prospects coming up. Couple pitching prospects. So yeah, there's a lot of good players coming up that are either in Buffalo, New Hampshire. They're starting to get closer to the majors.
Brian, I wanted to talk to you this too. Canadian baseball has come a long ways in the last 10, 15 years with players coming from Canada playing in major leagues and that. But the sad part is we're only down to one minor league team, I believe, the Vancouver Canadians. We used to have double A baseball in St. Catharines for the Blue Jays. Used to have teams in Vancouver, not Vancouver, but Edmonton, out in Calgary and in Ottawa. And it would be nice to see more minor league baseball teams from Major League Baseball come back to Canada as well.
Yeah, it seems like it would be something that they should be able to get in the works. I mean, there's a lot of baseball fans in Canada, and there's a lot of big cities and big markets that could definitely benefit from a team.
By the way, you know about the Baseball Hall of Fame, Cooperstown. Have you ever been to or heard of the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame in St. Mary's, Ontario, which is just outside of London?
Yes, I've actually been there. I went there in 2009, I believe. Yeah, it was a cool experience. I went there. It was actually like what they considered off season, so like I had to set up like a special tour in the fall, but it was kind of cool because I was like the only one in there, so like the curator could show me like everything, and they were like this different like like just defeats like from Montreal and like history from the Blue Jays and like players that were Canadian and just like just the amount of stuff they have in there. It's crazy. It was a really fun experience.
And I want to give a shout out to Scott Crawford, the director of operations for the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. Last year I was there and I was able to interview John Olerud, Jesse Barfield, Rich Harden, and Josh Barfield, the son of Jesse, and I'm going to tell people here watching, listening, and you know yourself, Brian, I highly recommend going to the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame in St. Mary's, Ontario. They have a good little exhibition of memorabilia, and they've got 4 beautiful ballparks there too.
Yeah. It was definitely when I went there. It was I want to say it was like October, so like there wasn't as much going on, but like you could see the fields. Like it was a really cool experience. There was a lot there.
And they have some seats from the former exhibition stadium there too, the grandstand seats as well. Hey, Brian, we're going to get to the next question. If you got a few more minutes, I'm going to reword this question. I was going to say favorite, but what have been some of your most memorable stories and interviews you've done so far with jaysprospect.com?
Um, I'd say one of the bigger ones. The first year I was writing in 2012. That was when Aaron Sanchez was in Lansing, and at the end, like he gave me like a really cool story that I could write about like his connection with his stepdad. So I think that was probably one of the coolest stories I've done because it was like about his family. It was about like his connection with like his stepdad and his mom. So I think that was probably the coolest story that I've ever done.
And some of your interviews?
Um, like some of the biggest players I've interviewed.
Yes.
Yeah, like well, there's been a lot. The first year, I interviewed players like Aaron Sanchez, Noah Syndergaard, Anthony DeSclafani, Kevin Pillow. I mean, there was that first team I covered had a lot of players that had good, long major league careers. And then as time went on, there was like the following year, like I interviewed like Matthew Boyd, Kendall Graveman. It was been a lot of players over the years that, Danny Jansen, players that I've talked to like back in Lansing who, are everyday major league players now. And, they were for a while. And it's really cool to kind of look back on that and be like, you watch these guys on TV and it's like, it's kind of cool to be like, hey, I've interviewed that guy, I've talked to him, I met him, and it's cool to see them, achieving their dream and getting there and having a successful career and setting themselves up for the rest of their lives.
What advice would you give to those who are watching, looking to do interviews like us? What advice would you give to those people?
Um, like not to be nervous, like, just remember, like, if you're going to do something like this, they're people just like you. Like the first year I did it, I was very shy. I was kind of nervous, but it's like it took a little while, and then you warm up and realize, hey, they're just regular people just like you. Um, Try to ask good pointed questions. You know, they they're giving you like some of their time, so like just be respectful of their time, and ask them stuff that's relevant. Ask them stuff about like what are they working on, or like their plate approach or their pitches, or really ask them stuff that what they're working on, what they want to talk about, stuff that they're anything they're willing to share, but just always be respectful of their time. Like I always thank them for coming out to interview with me, and I thank them again after they're done. Like just they don't have to do anything for you, so just be very respectful of their time and appreciative of it.
Brian, I was going to say too that that's all great advice too. One thing I've learned is listening, because sometimes when you do these shows, I write down stuff and points, but
Yeah,
sometimes when you ask a guest a question, they can give you the answers to two, three, four,
right.
five questions. So to me, with this show, as much as talking is important, listening to your guest or guests is huge, especially with in phone or live interviews as well.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. That was a big thing. Really listen to what they're telling you, because like sometimes they answer other things, or they drop a little tidbit that you could, hey, can you elaborate on that, and you can get some really good information from them. And it's really important to like listen, and you know and just really see what they have to say, because sometimes some of the best quotes you get from them is when you have them elaborate on something that they kind of hint at.
Absolutely. And sometimes you can ask a question and then it opens up another subject and they open right up with you too. And with your interviews too, Brian, in phone or in person or what I'm doing, I try to build a good rapport. I want the athletes, he or she, managers, coaches, I want them to be able to trust me and feel like they can talk to me as well. Building a rapport.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I want them to, feel like, hey, if you reach out again, like, this guy's a good person, he asked good questions, he wrote a good piece, he treated me well, he respected my time. It's definitely important to build a good rapport with them.
And the word I wanted to use too is you want to have credibility.
Yes, absolutely. You definitely, I have pretty good luck with it. Like, even like a lot of the players I talked to when I was in Buffalo, like some of them that I've done phone interviews with the past, like I would bring it up and they'd be like, yeah, we know who you are. And it's like, talking to them on the phone, you don't even know if they realize who you are, but they did. Like, yeah, we know who you are. And it was kind of a humbling experience, and made me feel like what, I'm doing a good job. Like, even though like we didn't talk face to face, like they met me and they still knew who I was.
Gotta ask you this too. I personally, I've talked to players when they've won games and they've lost. Some guys have their own style. To me, I think you should be able to talk to a player after a win or a loss. Obviously, if a player loses the game, they're not going to be as happy. But I think it's important that you have to be able to do both sides. What's your thoughts on that, Brian?
Yeah, it's definitely part of it. Yeah, if you talk to a player after a loss, they're not always in the best of spirits, but it comes with the business. I mean, when you play 162 games that they play in the major leagues, you're not going to win them all. Even in the minors, they play like 140 games, you're not going to win them all. So I would go in locker room, like in Lansing, I'd go in the locker room after both wins and losses. And yeah, if they won a big game, like you'd get a different side of them. But even after a loss, like you couldn't be afraid to go in there and ask questions, and it's all part of the business, and it's something that they continue to work on too. Like as they get to the majors, whether they win or lose, they're going to have microphones put in their face. It's a valuable experience for them to learn how to do it. So I feel it's important, just that you can't be afraid to, go in there and ask questions in any situation.
Absolutely. That leads to my next question, Brian. What do you enjoy the most about writing for jaysprospects.com? And what can be some of the hardest aspects of digital writing?
Um, well, I really like the site. I mean, they're the ones that, got me into this. I feel like the site was designed before, like 2 years before I joined it, but I feel like I've really been one of the main ones that, stuck with it and really built it. So I definitely enjoy the site. I enjoy working for them. I enjoy, getting the content that we put up on the site. Um, with digital writing, I think sometimes some of the biggest challenges is maybe, just getting it promoted. Some pieces really take off, and then other pieces, it's like, did did it get many clicks? Like there's all sorts of things you have to do, because it's like you're putting all your time and effort into doing this. Like you're hoping that you're reaching a decent size audience, and it's in certain pieces I think do that, and then other pieces maybe not as much. But no matter what, like I take pride in everything that I put out. Um, you know, it's it's a I feel like my writing's it's a reflection of myself and my creativity and everything I put into it. So even if it reaches a small number of people, you know what, they got a chance to read it, and they had a chance to you know ex, get to see what I'm doing, get to experience my creativity and learn something maybe about a player they didn't know that much about. So there's there's challenges to it, but at the end of the day, it's you just got to be confident in your stuff, and I'm definitely at a place where I feel like I put out good quality material.
How often do you write an article for jaysprospect.com? And how many other writers are on the website besides yourself?
Right now, there's not too many other writers. I'm the main one. Right now, during the season, I would say I usually produce like one or two a week, usually during the season. Like probably on any given month, probably 4 or 5 pieces. In the off season, it varies a little bit, whether or not I still have some interviews saved that I recorded over the season, or I'm setting up like follow up interviews with players, or getting in contact with players that recently signed with the organization. Like I'm always looking for stuff that I can add to the site. I would say in a given 12-month span, I probably create anywhere from 45 to 70 articles in a year.
Wow. When you're down in Buffalo, were you able to speak to Brian Frank, he's the Herd Chronicles historian who covers the Bisons and the historical events in Buffalo? Were you able to speak to Brian?
Yeah, I got to speak to him briefly. He was really helpful. Like he was, he's, gave me some, like if you need anything, just let me know. I know where everything is. I can, get you in contact with people. He was really helpful. It was nice, having that kind of connection there that, I was new to the stadium. I didn't really know where anything was. And, to have somebody be like, you know what, I can, just tell me what you need and I'll help you find it. It was really nice having that kind of connection.
And that's what I'm trying to do now. When I go down to the ballpark and there's somebody new there, I try to help them like they helped me when I first started there, because I started back there a couple years ago and I didn't know where anything was. So I try to pay it forward.
Yeah, that first day I was looking for that buffet. Man, I was all over the place. Pat told me how to go get like the lunch buffet, and like I found the basic thing he told me, and then I was walking around and walking around. I eventually just had to find some workers and be like, where can I get the lunch buffet? And they pointed me in the right direction.
Yeah, they're very friendly there at the ballpark too.
Yeah, yes, yeah. I felt like everyone in like the press box and like even the staff that I met downstairs, I thought everybody was really friendly.
Absolutely. And one person, if you get a chance to talk to the next time you're there, is Bud Bailey.
Yeah.
Bud Bailey's like a Hall of Fame media personality in Buffalo, a long time with the Buffalo News, Buffalo Radio, and now Bud does the. I think he runs the pitch clock at Salem Field as well.
Okay.
It'd make
Yeah.
an interesting story for your website too,
Yeah.
behind the scenes.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't get the chance to meet him in April, but maybe next time.
Absolutely. And before we wrap this up, Brian, what is your next assignment and story that you're working on for jaysprospects.com? And again, the website is jaysprospects.com. Everyone, check it out. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, like I said, I still have a piece on Ricky Tiedemann. I'm not sure when I'm going to publish it yet. I'm trying to wait for him to come back from the IL to publish it. I got some phone interviews that I have requested but haven't set up yet. So the main one will be Tiedemann. I'm going to go, like I said, I'm heading to Erie here in 2 weeks, and I'm going to try to get a bunch of interviews with players in New Hampshire, and then I'll be able to, get a lot of extra information for the site here in the upcoming weeks. But yeah, I'm always, reaching out to players, and whether it's the first time I talk to them or the second or the third, I'm always trying to, build those connections, and there's always stuff going up. Like I always had, when I have something, come out, I post it on X, I post it on Facebook. Like people know when I have stuff coming out.
And Erie's got such a beautiful ballpark, the AA affiliate of the Detroit Tigers at Jerry Oot Park, I think. It's right by the Erie Insurance Arena, home of the Erie Otters, and it's a beautiful city, beautiful site, and I'm hoping to get back to Erie as well. I haven't been to a game there in a while, and I would like to do some Seawolves coverage as well.
Yeah, it'll be my first time going there. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a fun weekend.
Make sure you take some photos and send them to me or post them online.
Okay.
And finally, Brian, where can my audience follow you on social media? And again, the Jays Prospect website.
Yeah, you can find my work at jaysprospects.com. We have a Facebook page that's, if you go on Facebook, you can type in Jays Prospects, all those stuff's there. On social media, you can follow at Jays Prospects on X, or you can follow me personally on X at Crawdaddy222.
All right, Brian. Hey, I want to say thank you so much today for coming on my 400th episode, Brian. It was great to meet you in Buffalo in April and have you come on my show today. And you have an open invite to come back on again as well, because I think people don't realize, if you're a baseball fan, how important the minor leagues are to the Major League Baseball clubs.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
And hey, quick question. Finally, what's the one fun fact about yourself before we let you go?
A fun fact. I guess recently I've really started to enjoy stuff like audiobooks. I play bridge and euchre. I'm in a couple code clubs. I really like anything from sports and music or books or codes, anything that really challenges my mind. I like anything like that kind of keeps my mind sharp.
All right. Well, Brian, thank you so much again for coming on episode number 400 today. Continued success with your writing with jaysprospect.com, and we'll cross our fingers and we'll run into you again this summer at Salem Field in Buffalo. And I would like to get down to a game in Erie and Toledo as well. I'd like to cover a Mud Hens game down there. I hear they have a beautiful ballpark in Toledo.
Yeah.
All right, Brian. When I get a chance later tonight, I will send you an audio and video copy and some clips of our show today. I want to say thank you so much, Brian, for giving us some time.
Great. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Okay, we'll talk to you soon, Brian. Have a great day. Happy U.S. Memorial Day to you and your family.
Great. Thank you.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed season 8, episode 15, overall 400 of Live with CDP Sports today with my special guest, Brian Crawford, a writer for the Jays Prospect.com. He goes around to their minor league ballparks and does phone interviews and writes stories about the Blue Jays' top prospects and how important minor league baseball is to Major League Baseball as well. And again, I want to say thank you to everyone watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports Talk, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet and on WQEE 99.1 FM, weeknights at 8 o'clock to 9 p.m. Eastern. And I want to say thank you again to everyone. Thank you to all my guests and everyone watching and listening to my 400 episodes. And I've just been really lucky. Before we wrap up our show today, guys, I was at the Toronto Argonauts double blue scrimmage game Monday in Guelph, and I did an interview with a University of Guelph alumni and current defensive back for the Toronto Argonauts. His name is Royce Michi, and we're going to bring him on. He wears number 9 for the Argonauts. And also, this is courtesy of my YouTube channel. Please hit the subscribe and like notification. And here's my interview with Royce Michi of the Toronto Argonauts, a defensive back. I'm a radio host of Live with CDP Sports Talk, weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, the home of Southern Talk and Sports. Today I'm here at Alumni Stadium at the University of Guelph for Toronto Argonauts training camp and their blue and white scrimmage game today. And I have a special guest with me from the Toronto Argonauts on the defensive side of the ball, from the University of Guelph, by the way, Royce Michi. Royce, just thoughts on today's scrimmage game here against your teammates?
Yeah, I think it was pretty good. It was pretty solid. We got to see kind of everyone kind of loosen the reins a little bit, go out there. Truthfully, I think the offense, they didn't win, but the defense, we definitely could have made a couple more plays. But no, it was nice. It was good. It was good to see everyone, kind of get the feel for what game day, situations would look like.
And this is your third year with the Toronto Argonauts, and you played your college ball here at the University of Guelph. Thoughts on this new field they installed here this offseason at Alumni Stadium?
No, it's been great. And plus it's been cool to be back here at Guelph. I played here for 4 years, and just to be back on I guess home turf is kind of cool. The turf has been phenomenal. Even just when you watch film, when you're on it, it's just been great, right? It's you can't ask for anything better right now.
What are you looking for in training camp to improve upon your game going into the 2024 season for this team?
Personally, I'm looking to just try to get my hands on the ball more, as much as possible, whether the ball's in the air or whether it's punching it out or everything. I think as one of the veteran guys, I'm one of those guys which have to lead by example, and I think the best way is to get the ball, right? On defense, you want your defenders when the ball's in the air to go get it, so that's my goal.
Thoughts on some changes with the coaching staff? Obviously, Corey Mace going to Saskatchewan, and I guess Kevin Iben is now going to take over as your defensive coordinator. So just thoughts on some of the coaching changes going into 2024.
Yeah, I'm happy for Mace and the other guys, but I'm more excited for us here, especially with Kev and Coach Will and Coach Lou, just because there's still familiarity, and these are guys that they've played the game. They're very knowledgeable in the game, and just their mentality towards the game, to be able to kind of take that and attack this year, to be able to dominate. I'm excited for this year.
What kind of an identity are you guys trying to establish for this team going into 2024, especially on the defensive side of the ball?
We want to be known as the most physical defense out there. We want to be the guys that you don't want to play. You know what I'm saying? We want to be the guys that, when you see you got up next, you're like, it's going to be a tough game. These guys, these guys run to the ball. These guys are hitting every single play, and they don't let up.
What's 2 words to describe you as a football player?
2 words to describe me as a football player. Fun. And I don't know. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that.
And in pregame, what kind of music do you like to listen to get you fired up for the game?
To be honest, I'm a kind of person that is just, I kind of flow with the day. So whatever energy I'm feeling that day, that's probably where my music taste would land.
And for fans that haven't been to a game yet at BMO Field or a CFL game, what would you tell them, and how do you see this team performing going on in 2024?
For fans that haven't been, especially not to BMO, I would say that the Toronto Argonauts are the best organization to get to love football, to fall in love with football with. Honestly, just in being in the city and everything, the team itself, the energy that's brought on game days and stuff, I say, yeah, the Toronto Argonauts, if you're new to football, go ahead and either turn it up on TV, and if you can, go ahead and try to make it out to Toronto. The city would be amazing. You have fun, bring the family and everyone.
And finally, your football career, when it started, did you have any early influences or mentors in your football career?
Yeah, I definitely did. I had a lot of, I guess, influences, especially like in my brothers and like my friends around me, like the circle I had around in Brampton, and even guys that were just like local guys, you know, like the local Brampton legends and stuff. There are countless of them to name, but when they watch this, they know exactly who they are. And I always, I just want to say thank you to them. You know what I'm saying? Thank you guys, because I'm here because of what they did, the path they laid for us.
And finally, is there a story behind your number?
Number 9.
Great number.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's actually both of my parents' favorite number. So I kind of I said, yeah, I kind of want 9, you know?
And one of the greatest hockey players of all time wore number 9, Gordie Howe.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to try my best to uphold, you know, the greatness, you know, that the number holds.
And finally, Royce, where can my audience follow you on social media if you're on there?
I'm not active on social media, but I do have an Instagram, which is still active, and I do kind of sometimes use it. My handle is real easy. It's just at Royce_Mechie.
And last question, how much did it mean playing at the University of Guelph in your college career?
A great deal. It meant a great deal. It was close to home, and just the people around here, like even just not just in the football facility, but the people, the facilities, like the teachers and everyone I got to meet here, it holds a special place in my heart.
Hey, Royce, I want to say thank you so much for doing this, and continued success with the team in 2024.
Thank you very much.
That was Royce Mechie, defensive back with the Toronto Argonauts of the Canadian Football League, and the Toronto Argonauts are having their training camp here at the University of Guelph again. The Argonauts have their first preseason game Saturday, May 25th, I believe 7 o'clock, against the Grey Cup champion Montreal Alouettes at McGill Stadium. And then the Argonauts' second and final preseason game will be back here in Guelph next Friday, May 31st, against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And you can get tickets at argonauts.ca or for the tickets at Alumni Stadium through the University of Guelph Griffins website as well. As we wrap this show up, guys, the next Live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by BarryCollin.com, Thursday, May 30th at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, with special guest Charles Spider Jones. He is a former boxing, a 3-time Gold Glove champion, and he's into the Canadian Boxing Hall of Fame, Spider Jones, and he's a native of Windsor. And Spider Jones was a longtime radio personality on the Fan 590 and had his own talk show on CFRB 1010 in Toronto as well. And Spider Jones is now a motivational speaker. So he's going to come on and talk about his boxing career, about the Blue Jays, Raptors, Maple Leafs, and a little bit about himself being from Windsor, and as well as just sports and radio in general in 2024 as well. So I hope you guys can tune in to Live with CDP Sports Talk Thursday, May 30th at 2:30 p.m. Again, my guest, Charles Spider Jones, Canadian Boxing Hall of Famer, Gold Glove champion, and longtime Toronto radio personality as well. As always, guys, I do some volunteer work at the Cambridge and District Humane Society at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario, 519-623-7722, or you can visit their site at cambridgehumanesociety.org if you're interested in volunteering or donating money or helping out with the shelter. Check out the website, cambridgehumanesociety.org. And if you're looking for a forever pet, a dog, cat, bunny, rabbit, all their information is on cambridgehumanesociety.org. And right now they're doing a once a month 50-50 draw at the Cambridge Humane Society. You can get your tickets there at 1650 Dunbar Road, or again at the website at cambridgehumanesociety.org. The money for the 50-50 tickets goes to the shelter programs for our homeless furry friends there as well. And again, Cambridge Humane Society, You can't buy, but you can buy happiness. So check out the Cambridge Humane Society again, and their website, cambridgehumanesociety.org. And as a volunteer there since February, I really love it. And recently they've had dogs like Clifford go home, and as well as Elvis, the Basset Hound, just recently got adopted as well. They do really good work down there. So again, check out the Cambridge and District Humane Society, 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. As always, guys, Live with CDP Sports Talk is a weekly sports and entertainment talk show hosted by yours truly, Chris Palme. Is on weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM, the key, the home of Southern sports and talk, the heartbeat of Atlanta. Our radio station's website is wqeefm.radio12345.com. Live with CDP Sports Talk is live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, /X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram. And I'm hoping one day to be live streaming on TikTok as well. Finger crossed they can do a deal between StreamYard and TikTok as well. Also, I have my own website, beacons.ai/Christy Palme. All my social media work and all my digital media work is on beacons.ai/Christy Palme, and my previous radio shows are on there as well. Live with CDP Sports Talk again is sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210, or email them at info@barrycullen.com. Speaking of Barry Cullen Chevrolet right now, 0% financing for up to 60 months or $10,000 off select Silverado 1500 crew cab pickup trucks. More information there at barrycullen.com, or pop by the dealership again at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. I am also a content creator too, by the way, guys. You can follow me on TikTok at Live with CDP. And I want to say thank you to my 2,157 followers on TikTok. It's been a great experience. I've learned how to cut promos for myself and my guests and my media work there as well. And check out all my player and coaches interviews there. I post a lot of content there. So again, follow me on TikTok. Make sure you hit that follow notification. And again, thank you to my 2,157 followers there as well. And also, I want to say thank you to everyone following me on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, hit the subscribe and like notifications. I want to say thank you to my 329 subscribers. I've posted over 1,233 videos there since I've joined YouTube, and I've had 129,171 views. So thank you to everyone for following me on social media, TikTok, YouTube, and please remember to follow me or subscribe to me on social media as well. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports Talk. If you're into webinars or podcasting such as yours truly, check out StreamYard.com. They do have basic free plans or plans that I'm on currently, a professional plan for $49 US a month. And if you're a business that does a lot of podcasting or webinars or live streaming, check out StreamYard.com and contact the sales department for more information on details for that as well. And I've been with StreamYard for 3.5 years. Great customer service, and to me, it's one of the best live stream providers out there for your radio show, your podcast, or your webinars as well. Live with CDP Sports Talk, the audio version is available on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts for now, soon to be YouTube Music, Spotify for podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, and Tuned In. Finally, you guys can email or text Live with CDP Sports Talk at cpalme19@gmail.com, or text the show at 519-820-7188. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, feedback, good or bad, I would greatly appreciate that as well. And again, I want to say thank you to my guest, Brian Crawford, for coming on here today. Please check him out on Twitter. He's on there. I have his website. I have his Twitter page right here. You can follow Brian Crawford on Twitter, X at CrawDaddy222. That's Craw, CRAW Daddy 2222 on Twitter. And his website is jaysprospects.com. And finally, guys, this is my 400th show. I started this in March of 2020, and I want to say thank you to some of my guests like Pat Gregor, who's been on 8 times from Quebec, Canada, and from the TSN's National Lacrosse League. Aaron Sanders has been on 7 times from the Windsor Express of the Basketball League. And I've also had great guests like Dan Schumann, Chuck Swirsky, Christine Lisi, Freddie Coleman, Mike Hogan from the Toronto Argonauts, Rick Zamprin, who's on CHML 900, covers the Tiger Cats. I've had on a number of times. The Philly fanatic Tom Burgoyne's been on my show. Tom McCarthy from the Phillies. Jim Jackson from the Philadelphia Flyers. Jerry Howarth, the legendary Blue Jays broadcaster, came on a couple years ago. Eric Smith from the Raptors, and soap star from the As World Turns, Martha Burns. And I can't name everyone, but I just want to say thank you to those people and to all my guests for our 400 episodes of Live with CDP Sports Talk. And I'm looking forward to going towards my next goal, which is 500 episodes. And again, Thursday, May 30th, 2:30, I have Charles Spider Jones coming on Live with CDP Sports Talk. And finally, the next Small Talk podcast, Season 2, Episode 5, is going to take place Monday, May 27th, on the U.S. Memorial Day holiday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 on the West Coast. Co-host Marlene Sharp and myself, we will have a special guest. Her name is Carrie Kaufman. She is a Reiki practitioner out of the Greater Toronto area. So tune in to Small Talk Podcast, Season 2, Episode 5, 3 p.m. Eastern this Monday. And it should be a great show with Marlene Sharp and our guest, Carrie Kaufman. And for my American family and friends, I want to wish you all a happy U.S. Memorial Day long weekend. And I'm looking forward to Small Talk podcast this Monday. Again, 3 p.m. with Marlene Sharp, my co-host, and Carrie Kaufman. And Live with CDP Sports Talk will return next Thursday, May 30th, 2:30, again with Charles Spider Jones. I hope everybody has a great afternoon, great weekend, and we'll see you back here next week for another edition of Live with CDP Sports Talk and the Small Talk podcast. Thank you to WQEE 99.1 FM and to Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership here in Guelph. Have a great afternoon, great weekend, everyone. And again, happy U.S. Memorial Day to all my American family and friends. Thank you for watching and listening to Live with CDP.